So we're going to do a little bit of pec work and some neck work, okay? So I'm just going to undrape to the sternum. I can tuck in under the shoulders, and then I'm going to be sitting down for the neck work and the pec work. And again, whatever you have undraped, that's what you're going to work on, right? Now, if I want to do lower pec work, I have to redrape this. So what I would do is I would undrape or leave her arms outside the drape. And then that way that gives me a good boundary. So I'm just going to do one side with her arm outside. And I'm going to show you how much farther we can get that drape down. So that would allow us to get more into pec major, pec minor, right? And I think I'll actually do that for you just so I can show you the deeper. Wiggle your fingers for me, please. Thank you. That way I know there's no slippage going on. I always start out with kind of like a cat paw, just to bring the shoulders down out of the ears. You can use finger pads, fingertips, knuckles. You can get onto the sternum. If you're dealing with a patient that has larger breasts, you can also ask them to hold their breasts down and out over the sheet. And then that way you can get into the sternal attachments of pec major. So if somebody's having a lot of pec issues, that might be something you want to add into your routine, okay? And don't be afraid to have them move their breast tissue out of the way. Right? I would rather see you ask them to do that than just go ahead and try and do it without mentioning it to them. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going from the sternum out to the axillary area. I'm going to get my thumbs right above that clavicle. And I can bring my fingertips right under the clavicle. I can also come to the side, sink in right at that sternum, kind of curl my fingers a little bit. My pressure is with my middle finger. And I'm just going to kind of rake out to the humerus through those muscle bellies. Now we're going to go over pec minor, pec major as we do that. And you can also do a pin and stretch. So with a pin and stretch, you are going to have the arms out and you make sure you have a good drape. You're going to sink in with your finger pads. So here is coracoid process, right? You're going to sink in over that into the muscle belly. Okay, so not up here, not here, here in the muscle belly. Okay, then you're going to take the wrist, make sure the palm is up, and you are just going to bring that patient's arm into abduction and let that movement pull your fingers through pec major and pec minor. Now, if you find your patient is not letting their arms go, or if they're fighting you, you can always have them do it. Okay? If you have your patient do an active move, it makes it a little bit more intense for them, right? So all I would do is have her bring her palm up. I'd sink in with my fingers, and I'm going to have her bring her arm into abduction slowly. I'm going to make sure that I move so she doesn't hit me, and then back down to the table. And I'll usually come in 3 different areas, right? So whether I'm doing the pin and stretch or whether she's doing it, I'm going to start up here by the clavicle. I'm going to come down a little bit and then down a little bit further, right? Because we know with pec major, we have upper, middle, and lower fibers. So as I move my fingers, I'm accessing those different fibers, okay? So one more time, I'm going to have you bring that arm palm up. And the faster she goes, the faster she pulls me through. So, okay. So after I've worked on the pecs, I can get into the neck. Okay. Now I find when I've done the neck from the posterior surface, if I spend a little bit more time on the neck, I usually don't do an anterior neck unless they need it. Okay. So what you're going to have to do is get rid of the eye covering. I'm going to blind you. And what I find is I normally have enough oil on the neck that I don't have to put any more on, right? So I just do a rounding stroke over the shoulders, come under the neck, and that allows me to cradle the head and access the neck on the other side. And I can come in with the heel of my hand. I can come in with an open fist, with knuckles, with finger pads, but we can get at SCM, we can get at the scalenes, those upper trap fibers, even with a supported thumb, we can get into some of those muscles. And again, anytime you're working in the neck, if you feel a pulse, move a little bit, all right? Don't get freaked out by it, just move a little bit. I can come in and just do kind of like a money sign on that SCM. A lot of people's headaches, tension headaches come from there. Some knuckles. And then I'll always end with just a round stroke. Anytime you're dealing with the head, move it slowly if you go to move, right? I can do a little one-handed petrissage if I wanted to on those traps. Supported thumb. Ooh, those traps. And get into that SCM. Use finger pads into scalenes. And then normally you would go in and do the face routine. I will show that later, but the last thing I'm going to show you is a suboccipital move. And it's actually a myofascial move, but it's really nice to end your session with. So say I've gone through and done the face, and the reason I'm not doing it, she doesn't like face work, just like me. So we're not going to be doing that. So what you're going to be doing for the suboccipitals is, again, come around and just get that nice rounded stroke as you come through. Come underneath, and my fingertips, finger pads, are going to be right at that suboccipital ridge, right? So my fingers are underneath her neck, and I'm pushing up like this and holding it, right? So I'm giving her like a shelf with my finger pads. And then what I'm going to have her do is take nice deep breaths, and with every exhale, I want her to relax her head back into my hands. And you'll notice her head drop a little bit with each exhale. And usually you want anywhere from 5 to 10 breaths. And then once she's down, I'm just going to kind of push her head up into extension, and then just add a little bit of traction. And then that's when you would end.